Yeah. You know, I learned what real true. I learned what real true love is, and yeah, you can't take that word lightly. When you say anything like "I'm a child of God," "I'm a child," "I'm a chosen one," when you say stuff like that, you got to know what you got to be careful what you say. You got to know what you're saying. It's you ain't gonna. Most people, especially religious people, they not gonna never understand it unless you actually been in that situation yourself, or you've been into something similar, real tough. Because look, man, love and faith and all that type of stuff, it may not be in the same way that the way I'm experiencing it. But he said you will be tested and tried. When you say you, in order for you to take it up and really have love for a real love for a person, well, we know. Okay, I understand. God said, "My yoke is easy, my burden." What makes it easy is you determined to like hang in there. But you're gonna be kind of like tempted and stuff in other ways and stuff like that. But you're passionate and you're determined. It's like it's gonna make you hold on because you don't want to go out. You're gonna be like, man, I don't want to go out like that because the tribulation is so tough sometimes. It's gonna get so hard. You're gonna be like, man, this is impossible. That's how that those are the thoughts that hit your mind. You be like, damn, this is impossible, man. You're gonna be like, I can't do this. Or you're gonna be almost at the urge of saying, man, mm-mm. But it's something gonna still click with you and gonna say, hell no. It's almost like you got to create, you got to stretch an extra space. You got to force it. Like it's almost like you got to put in extra space to say, I'm gonna relax myself and I'm gonna be calm. And you know what? In spite of how I'm feeling, because you gonna have that spirit. What's that? How you can? He says the spirit is indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. When I say those words, or when I read it, I don't just read it just to for fun. You know, can you really, really, truly, when you read that, can you really sense the ancestors of your ancestors when you read it? Yeah, something like that. It's kind of, I guess you still have to be them went through it like that. You have to be them really them went through it like that to really get it. Because what I might try to explain to you, it's a mystery in it. It's a mystery. A mystery is something you're gonna have to be done came into an experience with it, not through what other people so much what they say, not through based upon what you read, but through experience. Have you ever heard people say experience is your best teacher? Because that's where it said you really go through the fire. It says, it's well, there you have it. It says you're gonna be like gold tried in the fire. Um, you know, it takes you got to be really rooted and grounded. Like you can't go if you want to be like a caregiver and or something like that. You can't wake up one day and just say, "Oh, I've been trained for this." I've been. It's not about being trained for something. You can be trained for something and not have a passion for it. Just because you know how I know how to do something doesn't mean that I have real love, rooted and grounded love. Just because I know how to do it, I'm capable of doing it. That doesn't make me have real love. Yeah, it doesn't. You can know how to do something, but there's a difference between being trained to doing something and being born into it, if that makes sense. If you are born into something, I'm talking about born by blood, into it by nature. You don't have to be trained for things that you are born into. If you're born into it, and if I say I'm gonna endure and I'm born into it, and it's my part of my culture, more than likely, it's gonna be that much easier to endure it because you was born into it. You was born and destined to do it. Yeah. If you're born and destined to do it, that's what's gonna do it. Because you can be go to school and be trained to be a nurse and all this time. That doesn't mean anything. If you are not born, you have to be born into it. Because if you're not born for it, then you're not gonna hold out in it. You ain't gonna hold out in it. You just not. It's impossible. I'm telling you I'm telling you from what I know, not what somebody told me, but from experience, from now, from me going through this, the experience that I have, as far as uh, not putting my people in the nursing home and stuff like that. You know, I realized that this is part of my nature, part of my culture, part of my. So when you thank me, I have to give all credit to the forefathers of the ancestor, the ancestors, because this is where you give it all praises to the gods of the ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where it come from. Because without them, it would be impossible, I believe, to be able to do what I'm doing. Yeah, it would be impossible for me to do what I'm doing. because it all came from my ancestors. Yeah, because when you are born into this world, God already ordained and auditioned the way people's roles that He wants them to play out, how He wants your life to play out. Just like if you're auditioning for a movie, to be in a movie, they ask you what you're good at. Put it in the comment section if it makes sense to you what I'm saying. And everybody has a role to play. It's not going to be the same role. It's going to be different parts in the movie. That's what make the movie, the different parts in it. It's not going to be. It will be impossible for everybody is to play the same character in a movie. You know, it will be impossible. So, if you audition just to walk in a picture, then that's what you. That's the. If you're good at just walking, then they're gonna audition you for that part. If you're good at um, being a nurse, then that's the character you're gonna play. Now that's the way the Bible is. The Bible is a history book, not a religious book. If you got real love, now you got some people like the Caucasian people. If you look at the things that they have done, and I'm not talking about the things in just doing good by people just in general. I'm talking about doing the things that, according to history of what they have done, you can look at this society and all over the world, and you can see that the so-called white people has not done anything good in this world, in this society since they was born. I'm talking about according to history. When I'm talking about when it comes to colonizing, colonization and stuff like that. That's the role. The point is, that's the role that they have. They have a role, just like we have a role. The role that we play is that, like, let me go into this. It may seem like I'm adding on to it, but I'm not trying to do that. Like, when you talk about different genetics, people can say, oh, I'm from this tribe, I'm from this, like, you know, I was told that, like for my family tree, some people say French, Creole, you know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. And different things like that. But the spirit bears witness. Like, I grew up in poverty, and my story is kind of very hard to map out. You know what I'm saying? So when I look to sum it up, when I look at the things that I go through and the trials and the tribulation of the things that I face like that, and look at my family tree and my cousins on my father's side, and I see the life that we live. We never lived the life of a, hold on a minute. We never lived a life of having a silver spoon in our mouth, if that makes sense. No, we never lived like that. Now, we never had our uncles on our father's side is to say, well, you go back to this land, we're gonna teach them. I'm gonna teach y'all your culture and this and that and the third. We didn't have that. I didn't get a chance. We didn't get me, my brothers didn't really get a chance to know them on the people on my father's side and nothing like that. But when I look at my brothers and things, how the life that they live, the rough life, being accused of things that they didn't do, being in and out of jail. When I say that, I'm not putting it out there. I'm putting it out there for educational purposes. Just as try to see if this add up. Like if we are part of the dominant race, the Caucasian race, then when you look at the spirit, and that's what I'm getting around to, the characters in the role, because the Bible says that there will be a character in a role. If you are part of the descendants of the colonizers, like if they want to say that we are part of the colonizers or whatever, then would they not have a specific role according to history is to play in that? And when I look at my life and the hard life that I had, and I wasn't never on top. Me, my brothers and sisters wasn't never on the top living in the world. So when you look at that, and I look at what I go through now, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know, so my mother having to going down, undergoing the worst condition to stroke. Yeah, but this is a second stroke, but this was the worst one. Because the first one, it just left a limp with her. But this last one, it just took her down. Now it's gonna take some process, and so much damage is done. It's taking time to heal. She's doing really, really pretty good to say that she had a severe stroke. But when I look at all those things and all of the trials and the tribulations of those things of going through the fire in that way, I can't help but say it's got to be impossible for me and my brothers is to be part of the colonizers, because you have to think about the Bible. The Bible, it says that every nation in the Bible is going to have a certain role and a character to play, right? So when I talk about the auditioning thing, you know what I'm saying? Each nation on the earth got a specific role that they play in real life. You know what I'm saying? Some play the role. You got nations that will play the role of rape, rob, and murder. You got nations that'll play the role of like the Arabs. They have a specific culture that they go by. Uh, you have Panamanians. You have Puerto Ricans. You have the blacks, Hispanics, and Native American. Each one of them, if you look in the Bible, you read about the different genetics of people. You read about Esau. It says Esau was a cunning hunter, man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. If you break that down, it's talking about dwelling in apartments, in poverty, houses, living in a poverty community and stuff. Jake, the black and Hispanic, they just sit at home and chill. We just play basketball and say, "Oh man, what you been doing?" "Oh man, I've been sitting at the crib all day." You know, "Oh man, I've been chilling." Where your brother at? "Oh, you back in jail again?" We know that that's not the role of, well, I'm gonna take him to court because I'm gonna put him on child support. No, I'm not gonna put him on child support or whatever. And this person has a habit of drugs or something like that, let's just say. And this was in our family on our father's side. And so when I look at that, it's not about your appearance, they say. It's about what your spirit bear witness to. So you have to take another look at it like that. So when I look at what I go through, it's kind of hard for me to decipher of being descended from a so-called Caucasian man, because think about it. When you go through a lot, because if you look at the people that's in power, if you look at the people that's in power, and we know who those people are, Caucasian people, we know it. The government, who run the government, Caucasian people run that, right? Then they have more privileges, the so-called white people, they do. When you look at us, we live in a certain community where it's poverty. You live in, you have less Like we grew up to where we didn't have nowhere near $1,000 in the bank. The average person that lives in the world does not even have a thousand average $1,000 in the bank. Let's just say back then we didn't. You see what I'm saying? Which we didn't, because we grew up in poverty. We grew up in a single parent household. So when I'm looking at all of that, I'm like, and let me compare it to this, because I'm trying to match. When you match up everything, you really according to the Bible. Let's look at this, and then I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. That'll be the best way for me to do it, because I want to give you the real thing. Let's do this. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 54. So that a man that is tender amongst you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. When I look at that, did I have my father in my life? No. My mother told me, she said that she would say, my father, that was a evil bastard or something like that. And I listen to that and I say, let me see if that match up. When they read it out the Bible, and I went back and asked my mother, that she said, yeah, that was an evil so-and-so. That was an evil bastard. That was an evil this and that. And I look at my life being different. I said, okay. I mean, being like in poverty and stuff. So I'm adding all of this stuff up, because remember, I said every nation on the planet is going to have play different roles. See, I'm on YouTube talking about the poverty. I'm talking about what I'm going through, like as far as poverty and all this type of stuff and things of nature. I'm not on here talking about, oh, I lived up, man, I was rich, man, and I came from the wealthiest family, like so-called white. I'm not talking about. I grew up in. I believe my father is this. I believe my father's a Caucasian. I believe my father. Oh man, I ain't never had no problem, man. I had always had, and I never had. And me, I never owned a car. Did I wake up one day and say, "Oh, you know what? I want to be without a car. I want to." No, I didn't do that. I used to always wonder. I noticed that I didn't understand why, but I would. Excuse me. But I knew there was a difference, but I didn't understand why. It seemed like white people always had everything, and they had it wealth and all this type of stuff. I knew it was a difference, but I did not understand why it happened like that. So I'm like, if I come from a Caucasian person, and I'm just illustrating right now, and when you look at the Bible, it says that in Deuteronomy that there's a certain group of people that's going to fit these curses, and that's not going to be on top. Deuteronomy 28 and 43. Look what it says. The stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. That means that the stranger would be the other nation, like the European. They would get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. The curses, our people was once at the top, ruling the world in rulership. That's what this is going in. This is a prophecy. You see what I'm saying? So when I look at the situation of being in poverty, not having a father, just raised up in poverty, just living in a single parent household, it's kind of confuses me. Like, according to the Bible, that would be the opposite, because he said these people would go through these things if they didn't keep the commandments of God. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel." So this was a message for all Israel. He was not talking to the only audience that he's speaking to that in this specific role would be the Hebrew Israelites. I'm not calling myself a Hebrew Israelite because I don't really know. I'm just saying, I'm just looking at all of the stuff according to the Bible. It said that these people will face these things. You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Then he said in verse 45 of Deuteronomy 28, "Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee until thou overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God." That means you wasn't keeping the voice of God. Is this Bible? Is keeping the commandments, and to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for abundance of all things. You see what I'm saying? You didn't serve God with joyfulness and with gladness. You know? So I'm saying, this is how you know. Like I said, I'm gonna continue to keep doing research, but this is how you'll know who the true Jews are and who the heathens are, because the white man ain't in poverty, the Jewish man ain't in poverty. None of them people are in poverty. But I know it seemed like I did say that in the beginning that I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna talk a little bit more. Let me see. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I'll be back. I'll be back and I'll finish it up with another part.